They see procurement as a key to SMME. But what are we doing about it? Now, the interesting one which I found was the pharmaceutical, this North American company. They've always viewed it. Since 1991, it's part of their culture. Now, look at the last statement. Don't just buy, procure, strategically source. You can reduce poverty. It depends on us, my colleagues. We've got to do something about it. Like I said, we have a lot of practitioners and not professionals. You can practice, but not necessarily be a professional. We need to change. When you see or you meet a chief financial officer, he's classified as a professional. But most of you in here, I'm sorry to say, these you are just practitioners. That is why they can just shove you around. You can't just get up and say, I'm going to be a CFO of a company. But somebody can come into our profession and become a CPO. Correct? Yes. And it's our own doing. We need to change that. Not all of us are directors, colleagues. Some will remain managers. You can be a good manager. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to accept that fact. And there are some of us that will be directors and also become CEOs. More and more, I see a lot of procurement and supply chain professionals now taking CEO positions. And you can check on the net. A lot of them are becoming CEOs. This is an opportunity for you. Now, this is what the minister said. 14th of August. National Treasury is not in the space of transformation, but in the space of public purse. He's got a point. That needs to change. He can't change it. It's us. We have to change that. Now, Africa is so rich, but yet so much poverty. I don't believe Africa is poor. There is poverty, but we are not poor. What we have underground, agriculture, we can feed the world. We've got oil. How can we say we are poor? We're not poor. It's just that we have misplaced priorities. And the procurement and supply chain professionals are not being heard. That's the reason why. Now, Christine Lagarde said 45% of our people are still poor. We need to change that. Supply chain can change that. Raymond Parsons' comment was very interesting. It was to do with the NDP, you know, the for and against. And people were arguing. And they said, don't think you are at a crossroads, colleagues, where you have a lot of choices. Now you're at a T-junction. It's either you go for it or you don't. And if you don't, you will know the implication. Look at the statistics in terms of employment. 66% between 15 and 19 years unemployed. This is worrying, and it has to change because it's a ticking time bomb. And the only way we can do that is our procurement and supply chain practices. The more we source locally, the more we do value add locally, the more this we can reverse. But the good side of some of these unfortunate statistics is that a lot of the continent's population is young. So it presents an opportunity for the consumer industry because they spend. And what are they spending their money on? Goods that are imported. I've always maintained that in addition to exporting raw materials, we also export currency. because we change the money we have to go and buy and bring it back. That can be reversed with strategic thinking and if we up our game. Minister Messina also made a very interesting statement. He wants the Preferential Procurement Act changed to support the developmental goals. He has a point. In conclusion, colleagues, you know, we are back on the agenda and we have to do something about it in terms of how we basically position ourselves. Let's not please go for titles for the sake of titles. There has to be collective effort from ourselves, you know, regional-wide to make this thing a reality. We are not all going to be C-suite material. Let's accept it and focus on what we are good at. Things have changed for us. For me, I am going to continue subject to funding. Please, I'm not promising because I also have to strategically source funding for the project. I've been doing this for the last 7 years on my own account because I am passionate about the African child and the continent's future. And I'll continue. SIPS, after the presentation in Zambia, is supporting. And one of the big consulting firms decided to obviously also come to the party. But it's not concrete yet. I am using my own funds to do this, to really try and enlighten our policymakers and industry executives in terms of what we can come to the boardroom with. And hopefully, next quarter, 2015, subject to funding, I'll be able to provide more information to yourselves. Now, final food for thought, my colleagues, we need to transform ourselves. I've gone on and on about it. We need to also look at moving from just being procurement thinking, buy one, get one free, to more supply chain thinking. It's critical. Don't always look at price. Look at the developmental impact of your actions. Now countries are also looking at supply chain, but unfortunately, because of the lack of awareness, they look at it from a procurement perspective. We need to try and change that. We need to find a way of becoming more directional and not just managerial, because it makes a lot of difference. Your approach to the CEO will be different. You will not go with tons of paper to try and convince him on numbers. They want ideas, and you really need to look at those things. Now, I thank you very much for your time, and let's hope that we are able to transform ourselves for the better good of Africa. God bless you.